let's hear from the experts, right? We have to see what everybody thinks. We have 4 experts in the back, and they all have different views on how our lives have changed. We have Dr. Sam Suri joining us. He has 30 years of experience as one of the busiest cardiologists in the Bay Area and has graced us with his presence. Dr. Sanjeev Jain, who's an allergy and asthma specialist. Dr. Archana Bindra, our very own, one of our first patrons, one of our past presidents of APIO. She's an endocrinologist. She's an expert in obesity, diabetes, pre-diabetes, treats the whole gamut of metabolic diseases. We have Dr. Navneet Singh, who's a pediatrician. He's a pediatrician with over 20 years experience, trained right here in the Bay Area at Stanford, and he's been working at the Palo Alto Medical Foundation for 20 years.
Again, just a plug for getting the booster dose, if you can as well, as long as it's been at least 2 months, you're eligible to get the booster dose. That protects you against some of the variants that are circulating right now, so I highly encourage everybody to do that. And then the third point I wanted to make is just to spread positive information. As a pediatrician, I have a lot of parents, because the vaccine is available now for kids that are 6 months and older, and I have a lot of parents asking me really good questions about, is the COVID vaccine safe for my kid? Absolutely it is. We know there's a lot of transmission from kids to adults. So for everybody in the audience, I think, just to get educated and informed on the safety, the efficacy of these vaccines, and to spread that good information to people that we know.
You basically can stay out of the hospital or, unfortunately, even die if you've got 2, 3, 4, 5 shots. So I encourage everybody to take shots. Going back to the pandemic itself, I think that it was kind of like gloom and doom, right, for everybody, and it was for me as well. But last night, we were at this function where I saw an 85-year-old group of people of our origin, mostly Indian origin or South Asian origin, dancing away. And I'm like thinking to myself, you know what? They went through this, they're alive, they're doing well, and they're healthy. And then I said to myself, maybe someday we'll be there if we do the right things. So I think basically looking at what happened during the pandemic and what's happening now is like we want to absolutely start getting back into our regular lives. It's very difficult because it's just mindset that has sort of changed and we're cautious about everything. At this time, I feel, start doing your thing, start doing your regular activities, go out, do everything you can, and enjoy your life. And that's what it's all about. That's what I'm doing. And I think keep smiling, keep laughing, have fun. Reset. Basically, you have to reset your lives and start thinking about what you're going to do when the next epidemic or pandemic occurs, because it's unlikely that we're going to have a ton of pandemics, but it's likely that we're going to have a lot of epidemics.
So the most important thing is, of course, keeping yourself as healthy as you can, maintain good immune system, and for that, good nutrition is important, reduce stress is important, diet and exercise and all the healthy practices that we will be discussing later today, they're all very, very important.
With diabetes, low carbohydrates becomes a big factor. You generally want to decrease your carbs to about 30 to 35 grams for every meal. So it's about 100 total in the day. Intermittent fasting, of course, helps a lot. They say that a lot of the food consumed in the evening generally goes to your fat cells, gets immediately stored. So stopping your diet sometime after 6 p.m. is very helpful. Starting as late in the morning is as helpful. Most diets are focused on decreased caloric consumption. So it's, of course, important what you consume in your diet, like you mentioned, the nuts and the fruits, etc. Fruits for diabetes can be a big problem. Most of them raise your sugars. The ones that have better glycemic index are the ones with which are sort of crunchy, as we say. So most of the berries are helpful. Strawberry, blackberries, blueberries. So any kind of berry is a little bit better. There was just one thing I wanted to add. A few people asked me here today about that juice outside. It has kale and apple and something else, orange or something.
It has orange juice. Apple, kale, orange juice.
Yes. So that juice sounds very healthy, but if you're diabetic, I'm not sure that it would be a good thing for you. I also recommended to one of them that you put nutrition facts on these kind of juices outside so people can see what they're consuming. and so they would make an intelligent choice for themselves. As far as exercise, yes, that's the recommendation is 30 minutes a day for 5 days a week, which is kind of very little. I usually tell my patients that you could double it if you're, healthy enough to do it. 300 minutes a week would be fine. If you can do even more, the better. But I think bone strengthening exercises, taking care of fall risks becomes even more important. I see a lot of patients with osteoporosis, osteopenia in my clinics, and every week we see patients, older patients who've had falls and fractures. They say that you can only do as well as you walk. So if you can't walk anymore and if you keep falling, then you have a greater risk, then that puts you at increased risk for everything else. Because once you cannot walk, essentially you have no cardiometabolic health. So in fact, bone health and arthritis is probably the most important that we need to take care of. Because if you can't do that, you can't take care of anything. There's no diabetes that's managed with it. There's no heart health that's managed with it. Nothing. So if you haven't got a bone density, and if you're older than 50 or in a menopausal range, then this is the time to go and get it. I think bone health is extremely important. Calcium, vitamin D in your diet, sunlight is very, very important.
Exercise, at least 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week, ideally more, right? Diet, what about diet? Managing your diet is the most important part. A lot of people said we were cooking at home, we were not eating outside, because when you eat outside, you get what? You get SOS, salt, oil, sugar added to the food. When you're making it at home, you know what went in it, what kind of oil you use, how much salt you added, how much sugar is in there, what are the ingredients, right? Archana said they should write ingredients on that green juice. It looks really green and healthy, but maybe if I'm diabetic, it's not that good for my sugars. It's going to make me need more insulin. So know what you're eating, get outside, exercise, sunlight. What else did we hear? Get vaccinated. We heard over and over again the vaccines are safe, they're tested. Go get the flu shot, go get boosted if you haven't gotten boosted. These vaccines have saved lives. If you look at the mortality graphs, ever since the vaccines came, the mortality dropped, plummeted down. People were dying. Over 1 million people died before the vaccines came. Once we started getting vaccinated, people stopped dying. So diet, exercise, get vaccinated. Some supplements, vitamin D, it sounds like you can't get it from food. So go get your vitamin D tested. Several of these experts said your level should be at least 30. I would go with 50 or 60. And if it's low, you need to boost that up. 1,000 to 2,000 units is not going to be enough for that. You need more. So talk to Dr. Bindra about that.
Do we have a question over there?
Watch your weight, right? So who were the people that died? The people that were getting on ventilators and using higher and higher pressure on the ventilators, because essentially the ventilator is like a bicycle pump. You're trying to inflate the tire. But if your bike is really heavy, you need a lot of pressure on that pump. So if you're overweight or obese, lose weight. That correlates with just about every cause of death, including COVID. Sleep well.
B12.
B12, okay, yes, check your B12. Also sleep well.
Yes.
And manage stress better, right? Laugh. We have a laughter yoga session coming out. Connect with other people. We heard that from Dr. Singh several times. Connection, social connection, getting out safely, connecting with other people, feeling supported, having friends is probably the most important thing, more important than a lot of this other stuff.